Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 52 of the Brighter Horizons podcast. Why are you making that face?
What?
You just look super
No,
surprised.
sorry. Dude, I was having a stare off with the camera.
Okay,
But yeah,
well,
go
ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Episode 52. We have a lot to talk about, okay? First and foremost, let's get into Mike Tyson.
Oh God.
The story of this weekend has definitely been
Dude, this
Mike
was a
Tyson
pretty
versus
crazy
Jake
weekend
Paul.
for us, you know? Like
100%.
sporting wise, very
100%.
crazy weekend. But honestly, that was like I hated watching that. Like genuinely, I didn't like the first round I enjoyed, and then after that I just couldn't handle it.
I mean, even the first round might be a bit much.
No, the reason was that
first 10
like
seconds.
yeah, it was cool to like actually see Mike Tyson in the ring, like as a person, because like we didn't go, obviously we weren't around for when he was in his prime, so like seeing him in the ring, you know, like whatever 30 years after fighting, it's pretty cool to see Iron Mike Tyson in the ring. But then it's like, is it really that cool now? Like, because like you're not really watching him. That's not really this. It's not the same Mike Tyson, right? So like when you see it, it's like I'm kind of just watching this legend that everybody knows and loves get beat by Jake Paul of all people, right? Like that's what like really set it off for me. I was just like very uncomfortable watching. Like I remember I was like sitting there staring at the TV, just like.
Bro,
Like,
and
that was the exact
the funniest
expression.
thing is, like, we had a full-on watch party. We had, like, 10 people here, sitting here in the basement watching this on this massive TV. We're all hyped. We're like, oh, my God, it's about to be crazy. And then we didn't make a sound for the last 5 rounds. Nobody said a word. It was dead silent as we just
Like,
sat there.
okay, to be fair, I think we all should have expected that. Like, that
Yeah,
should have been
100%.
100% expected. I think it's just, like, the hype thing. Oh, my God, it's Mike Tyson. But it's, like, the same way if you're like, yeah, let's put Gretzky back in the league. Like, this guy would get dusted by, like, everybody.
Yeah.
Because he's just older now, right? Like, that's just how, you don't escape father time. And also, those commentators need to be fired. Like, I don't care who you are.
Oh,
the people
yeah,
that
that
were
was
commentating that
disgusting.
event, that was terrible. Like, they were just slandering, like, Tyson during the fight. And it's like...
Have some respect,
Yeah, you should have
man.
some respect. Like, you need to understand it's not a regular fight. You don't commentate a guy who's double his opponent's age, fighting him. You don't commentate it the same way that you do other fights.
Yeah,
Like-
exactly. 1,000%. And more importantly, I just think that it's absurd that you're sitting here talking all this smack about a guy who's the same age as Jake Paul's dad. Like,
Yeah,
it would be
exactly.
probably the same age as Jake Paul's dad. I
Like,
don't actually know how old he is.
That's unbelievable, And, like, I think that some people need to have, like, a level of respect to these, like, the GOATs of their, like, respected sport. Like, come on. He's literally one of the greatest of all time.
50 wins, 6 losses, 44 knockouts. That's
unbelievable.
disgusting.
Like 22 or something in the first round.
Yeah.
Think
I
about
think it
it.
was 20.
Or something like that. Yeah, in the first round. That's unbelievable, right? So, like, and then I think that, like, people misunderstand. Like, obviously, first off, Mike Tyson did it for himself. Like, he did it, yes, for money, but he did say, like, hey, I want to, go back in the ring. Like, this guy would die in the ring. That's his, like, dream. This is his life. That's what he loves. So, he's created that passion for something that he truly loves. So, we can't sit here and be like, oh, my God, I hated that Mike Tyson was in the ring, because honestly, if he's happy, that's what matters, right? Like, hell, if Gretzky wants to hop out on the ice one more time, then that's amazing, right?
Yeah.
But the thing that's annoying is the way that the fight was, like, promoted and everything. Because it was promoted as this big, like, trash talky rivalry thing, and then when it came down to it, Jake didn't front any of the real things that he
And on top
said,
of that,
right?
like, I respect it because I get that you're fighting someone who's so much older, but he held back the whole fight.
Yeah.
And I think that that's just not really fair to everyone who paid to watch that. Because, like, for us, we're sitting at home watching it on Netflix. Big deal. Like, I'm in the comfort of my own home. But think about the people who actually bought tickets to go watch that. And on top of that,
again, though, like, what did you expect?
True. But here's the thing, right? I think that if they made an agreement for Mike Tyson to step in the ring, does that mean I want Jake Paul to knock him out? Absolutely not. No, that would probably be the worst outcome. But I think that people deserve something, like some sort of a fight.
I think the complete opposite.
Interesting.
Because, like, first of all, it's up to a fighter. If a fighter doesn't want to go all out, they don't have to go all out, right? Like, think about even on the undercard, like, Goyat didn't take his fight seriously. Like, this
true.
guy was messing around half the time. You know, he's getting freaky in the corner. Like, I don't know what was going on there. I don't respect that as a fighter. Don't like.
Yeah, I think
that's not respectable.
That's
but
disrespectful.
a lot of yes, there is a level of like people think that if you hold back, then you're disrespecting your opponent. But in situations like that, do you really expect Jake Paul to go all out and try and kill Mike Tyson at 60 years old almost? Like, he could actually die.
Yeah,
like,
true.
genuinely. I mean, obviously, it's Mike Tyson. He tanked a bunch of those punches, but he's still a guy who's getting up there, right? So, the people that pay there and then go are like, oh my God, that's such a scam. I'm like, I don't think it's a scam. I think it's exactly what you thought it would be, but not what you hoped it would be. You were hoping to see prime Mike Tyson, and I'm sorry, but you're not going to, right? So, like, this is the same way if people are like, oh, like, put Jordan back in the league. He's probably getting washed by half the people nowadays. And again, it's not a testament to him being bad. It's the fact that he's old now, right? These people are far past their primes. You're not going to see their primes. So all these people that paid to go watch the event, first off, I hope that you enjoyed the undercard fights because they were
oh my God. Taylor versus Serrano. That was
a great fight.
Amazing.
Phenomenal fight.
Amazing fight. And you know, one of the biggest lessons I draw from that fight, for those of you that don't know or didn't watch the event somehow, the card right before Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul was a boxing match between two female fighters, okay? And that was, without a doubt, the most entertaining fight of the evening, okay? Yeah. They went absolutely crazy at each other. There was blood spilled everywhere, eyes cut open. Like, it was insane. And I respect the two of them so much. And you see how much everyone talks highly about them online. And that's one of my biggest points is, you notice that this fight between these two girls was not put in there as a diversity hire. It was put in there because it was actually a really good matchup, and people appreciate good content, right? People get mad when you put stuff in for the sake of diversity. That's when it's a problem, right? But that fight alone, I'm going to remember that as one of the greatest boxing matches I've watched. Obviously, I'm not really a big boxing fan. Like, I haven't really watched a lot of fights. But I'll say that in the short time I've spent watching boxing so far, without a doubt, that's one of the most entertaining things I've watched. So, to me, I think that it's just important to know that whatever race, gender, ethnicity you are out there, whatever you do, if you're good at it, people will pay to see it, man. That's really all that matters.
You know what's funny? You want to know what I think is, like, the biggest, like, situation of that I never really thought about?
What?
In The Flash, Joe West.
Yeah.
Joe West is a white character. He's, like, the entire West family is white in the comics. But you know, it's a black actor in the movies, and it just goes to show that he was just right for the role. Like, genuinely, I've never heard anybody complain about the fact that he's colored. Like, nobody.
Same thing with Iris and Wally.
Yeah.
Like, they're both white in the comics, but they're black in the show, and nobody complains.
And nobody made any, like, even a remark, because one is just a testament to how good the actors were.
100%, they were amazing.
I don't think that there could have been a better actor for Joe West. Like, he was perfect for the role, the exact person that they were looking for. Like, you could see that is Joe West. Like, on the screen, he displayed that character perfectly. So, like, if you're really going to do something, if you do it to your best, there's always going to be people that appreciate it. Like, if you truly do it for what it's worth. But I think that people feel as though things become sullied when you don't do it for the real reason, right? So take boxing, for example. Right now, a lot of people don't like Jake Paul for the sole reason that he doesn't respect the sport of boxing, and all he cares about is money, which is true. Like, if you look at the fights he's taken, he's never really taken a true fight to actually prove that he is a boxer.
Yeah.
Right? The only time he fought a pro boxer was Tommy Fury, and he lost. Right? So, and even then, I no slander to Tommy Fury, but after watching, like, his fight with KSI even, like, he didn't look like a pro boxer. He didn't look like he was actually.
How old is Tommy Fury? He's not prime age either, right?
What?
He's not prime age.
He's young. He's young.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. He's like same age as Jake Paul, probably, around then.
Oh, okay.
They're very similar.
So he did just get slapped then.
Yeah, he just lost the fight.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's not. Again, like, I don't think that Tommy Fury is that great of a boxer. And again, like, Jake Paul was talking about calling out Canelo, and that's just
that is insane. For the record, okay, here's my thing, right? He sat there saying before the fight that he might call out Canelo, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, when they asked him, who are you going to call out for your next fight? Someone's, like, the reporter said, oh, you said something about calling out Canelo. And then he was like, nah, to be honest, if Canelo wants to fight me, he's going to have to call me out because Canelo needs me. I sat there thinking, huh? What do you mean? Canelo is Canelo, bro. You're Jake Paul. Like, don't get me wrong. What you did on YouTube is crazy. Like, I don't necessarily respect the kind of content you made, but I think that he kind of revolutionized the way YouTube is, even though it wasn't for the good. That's my opinion. Okay, let me explain. Okay, this is kind of crazy, but Jake Paul, Logan Paul, Rice Gum, all these people associated with that kind of a lifestyle made flexing on YouTube popular. They're the people who started posting, oh, I have this giant penthouse. I have these super cool cars. I have all the money in the world. I get all the pretty girls. Like, they're the ones who posted that stuff initially, right? I don't agree with flexing that online. I think that's a pretty shallow way to try and say I'm this guy. Okay, I think that just displays that your general sense of character is weak. But again, still a testament to what can be achieved if you just understand the game. They understood the game, even though they played it in their own way that I don't necessarily agree with. They definitely knew what to do, and they got rich off of it. So if that's what they wanted to do, got to give them credit where credit is due, man.
But yeah, like this is what I was talking about earlier with like the whole Tyson fight and everything, is that I don't think that Jake Paul, like, he did it for money, right? It's all for money. There's no other reason for him to do it. So if I could talk to Jake Paul for 1 second, if I could sit him down in the Brighter Horizons podcast studio and ask him a question, I would be like, hey, man, like, is this genuinely, the legacy that you want to leave behind? What is it that you want to be remembered for? Because right now you're remembered as a clown who beat up an old legend.
Yeah.
And is that really what you want to do? Right? Like, because if you think about it, yeah, he's made all this money, and that's cool, but how many people actually think about Jake Paul for his money? How many people think about Logan Paul for his money? No, what they think for them about is like
what they think about
them for is their legacy.
Yeah.
And what have they actually left behind? Because the money that they achieved wasn't through a real means, I want to say. Like, for example, when you think of money, who do you think of? Like, who are the richest, rich people that you think of when you think of money?
Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs,
Mark Zuckerberg, right? The whole shebang. We all know these people.
Yeah.
Why is it that we think of those people when we think of money? Because that was their thing. They were entrepreneurs who revolutionized a given industry, right? And they actually made positive change in the world. But if you look at these people, you want to say that they revolutionized YouTube, but who really remembers them for that? And at that point, is it revolution?
That's
right?
a good point.
I don't ever think about those guys. And like, until you brought it up, I never really thought about it, right? But when you brought it up, I was like, oh, that's kind of true. But when I think about it, I don't really remember them for that. I remember them for their fall-offs. Like, genuinely, that's actually what I remember them for.
That is true.
I remember Logan Paul for his fall-off. I remember Jake Paul for it. I remember Rice Gum for it, right? Because I actually used to watch KSI a lot. So I know the whole, like, Rice Gum KSI beef. Like, watching Rice Gum fall off, it was actually, like, kind of sad to see it happen. Like, even though I didn't like him as a person, like, a lot of these guys got their fame quick, but the reason it didn't last is because they didn't actually have real purpose behind it. Their whole identity was surrounded around getting money. But then the question comes, once that money is gone, what do you really want to do with your life, right? So striving for those monetary things seems like the evidence shows that you end up empty.
Yeah, true. I think that you chase a certain goal, and then on that path, success, money, and those materialistic objects will come if you just focus on the purpose in your life.
That's the idea. Like, that's what purpose is.
Yeah.
Purpose is not supposed to be a number, right? That's not what purpose is.
That's
like,
true.
for example, with us with this podcast, right? Our purpose was never a number. We set goals of being like, hey, it'll be cool to, have this many subscribers or this many views. But our purpose was always help people.
Yeah.
Right? That's what was important. So when you outline your goals out there, and you're like, okay, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to succeed, ask yourself why. And the reason is that your purpose often comes from the why. When you ask yourself genuinely, why am I trying to do these things, right? For example, let's say going to the gym, right? A lot of the times, it may be superficial, like I want to become stronger, which is obviously important. But have you ever thought, why is it so important to you that you become strong? Or why is it important to you that you look good? It could be health reasons, which is a big reason, obviously, but sometimes it's self-image. Sometimes you want to be able to wake up and smile about what you look like, right? Sometimes you want to be confident in yourself. So your issue lies not just with your health, but beyond that, in the character, in the mind. That's another issue that you're not addressing, that you're not recognizing. You're working towards it, but there's multiple ways you can do it, right? So taking that example further, instead of just going to the gym, what if you started to really train yourself in other aspects? For example, public speaking, so you can become more confident, right? So you can actually tackle these problems much easier.
Yeah.
By refusing to look at the why and the purpose behind your goals, you're leaving yourself with a spear. You could have a trident or a fork, if you will. You could have multi-pronged attacks at your problems, but instead you choose the spear because it's the first thing that came across you. But sometimes you need to evaluate your arsenal and see what you have that can actually overtake these problems.
That's actually a really, really good analogy, because if you think about the usage case for a spear versus a trident, right? You can stab the same thing with a spear and a trident. Now, the spear, I'd say its single prong is probably stronger than each individual prong of a trident. But eventually, after repeated use, the spear itself will snap in half usually. So you've lost everything there. But with the trident, even if you lose one prong, you still have all the other prongs, right? So with that, you need to be multifaceted and good at not everything, but have a certain skill set, man. Having that skill set is so critical. And that's something I learned, because as I sit here, as the days go by, thinking what else I want to do with my time, I'm trying to find new ways to go out there and pursue different passions. And I started asking myself, what am I good at? What can I use to my advantage? The first thing that comes to mind is obviously public speaking. I'm good at that. So I feel like I belong in a social environment, like sales, for example. So that's one thing I'm seriously considering right now. But the other thing is, if I want to do something on the side, I could do something like video editing. Does it mean that I'm a perfect editor yet, or that I can make super, super high quality videos yet? Absolutely not. But a lot of businesses don't need super high quality videos. They just need someone to make something for them. So
Absolutely.
In those situations, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I have earned these skills by working on the podcast for the past year. Where can I put them to use? Also, speaking of which, I just realized the funny story. We said that we missed our 1 year anniversary of the podcast. However, we were technically wrong, because we were counting the first episode of the podcast that we never actually uploaded.
Well, no, I think that's when we created our account.
Yeah, when we created the channel. When we
yeah.
made the channel, and then we did end up recording a couple episodes, which we ended up scratching because they weren't good enough for our standards. And then we changed the room, started uploading, and then when we uploaded our first episode, that was on, I believe, November 15th, if I'm not mistaken, I believe. So, technically, happy 1 year anniversary. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've been around with us since the start, greatly appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that in a year, we've uploaded, I don't know how many. I know that it's we've uploaded a lot of videos. We have a lot of subscribers now, a lot of views. And through that, I think that every day as you continue to work on this, the purpose, so for me, that's making other people happy and teaching them how to get better. As I work towards that goal, I also take a look at the numbers every once in a while, and I'm like, the combination of those two is so lethal. Yeah. And that's why I can smile all the time. Because does that mean I don't have off days? No, absolutely not. But I can smile all the time because not only do I know I'm taking steps towards an overarching goal, but every day I have that small win of, I added another 500 views to the view counter. I added another 2 subscribers. Those little things make me so happy. So you just got to do the same thing, man. Find that enjoyment in the little things. You don't really need to always take these giant leaps and bounds. Yeah. And now in terms of improving life, I think that one thing that you and I have never touched on when it comes to the podcast is school. We will say, obviously pay attention, try in school, and do your best. And we might have told you guys a few stories about when we were in school or what our current experiences are. But overall, I'd say that we have some good insights to share when it comes to, especially university, as that's what we're tackling right now. So just for a background information, I am currently in my 4th year, so wrapping up my degree now. He is just starting his 1st year. Yeah. So we have 2 very different perspectives. I'm a microbiology and biochemistry major, and he is a business major. So those are your 2, background frames profiles for 2 people. Okay? So I'll ask you a question. You're going to give your response. I'm going to give my response, okay?
Okay.
First question. Somebody who is new, coming into university, what would be your first piece of advice to them?
First piece of advice is get rid of all of your negative preconceived notions. 100%, this was the biggest mistake that I made, was I went into it, this was my quote that I wanted to live by before going into university. I said, my goal is to spend the least amount of time as possible at university. That was my goal. And by that, I mean have the shortest amount of classes, or be able to go to class and go home within an hour. That was my plan. I really did not want to stay at school for more than a couple hours a day. And the reason for that was, first off, I was hit with the whole drop out of school and create a business like mentality. That was like a big thing for me for a second. But I was closed-minded. And I still think that model can work. If you're really willing to work hard enough and you have enough vision and entrepreneurial skills, it's 100% doable. I'm not saying it's not feasible. But what I didn't realize was that there are other avenues. And what happens, especially with school, that people don't get is you get to figure it out in your first year. So when you go into university or when you're in high school, right, people stress like you need to figure out exactly what you want to do and all this stuff. Now, I'm not saying have no idea. I'm saying have a general path, but don't commit yourself to something you don't want to do. So like, especially with people that go to university and like for a degree that they don't even want. Like they're just going because everybody else is going. That's the worst situation. I can understand in certain cases, if your parents are willing to pay for you to go to university and study something that you're not entirely sure of yet, then that's okay. Give yourself time and you can figure it out as you go along. But a lot of these people that might be even paying for their own university or their parents are paying for it and they're convincing themselves that, I'm just going because my friends are going, and they're not taking it genuinely seriously, I think you're robbing yourself of a really great opportunity. The idea that school is bad or it's useless is false.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this as a person who oftentimes says, I hate the classes that I'm taking. My classes are boring. My classes are useless. I say that all the time. Like, I'm no better than a lot of you guys out there. But one thing that I've recognized is that school, especially university, is more than just your classes.
Yeah.
And I learned this obviously through joining clubs, but genuinely, I should have learned this in high school. We did learn this in high school, and we did learn this in elementary school. We just never took it to heart. And that's the importance of the people around you. It's what Andrew Tate said. I've said this quote before, but he said, if you ask like a guy, what was the best memory in your life? They said, college football. He says, it's not about the football, it's about the team, right? And the people around you are the most important people in your life, right? They're gonna impact your life, but you have to give them the chance to do that. So don't just cut off everybody and just focus on like school and classes. Like, I know that's important. Don't get me wrong. If you're trying to be a doctor, it's very important to focus on your classes.
Yeah.
But understand that life is more than just a one-dimensional path, right? So just by talking to people, you can explore avenues that you've never experienced. And I'll actually, I guess I'll just dive into this right. Is that okay? Like, if I quickly just dive into this?
Go ahead.
So, the way that my business school works is that in the first year, during the first month, we have this event called Launch. And now it's where you just go there and you get to meet up with all the different people in your business school and all that, all the first years, you have a good time. And you get guided around by the second year who shows you to all these places. And then that's day one. And then day two, you go to this nice, hall, and you sit down, you have food and all that, and you get to speak with industry professionals, all that. It's a pretty cool event, but I discarded it at first because, to be fair, it was pretty garbage the first day. The second
you
day
literally
was also
did talk about this on one of the episodes. You said it was one of the worst experiences.
It was
ever.
Instantly I said it was one of the worst experiences. But on the second day, something funny happened. I was talking to my launch leader, as we call them, so they're people that take you as your group around to see all the different things. And I was talking to my launch leader, and she's like, "Oh, you know what? You would make a good candidate for this club called ACE." And I had no idea what it was. And then she introduced me to the VP of this club. So I got to meet the vice president of the club. And I had a really nice conversation with him. And that led to me actually applying for this club. And I got in the end. Out of, I think it was 80 first years, only 7 people got in. So I got in as a part of that. And that's not me trying to flex. I mean, partially, yeah, that's pretty
Buddy,
cool.
that is a flex. What do you mean?
But,
that is a pretty cool.
I was really glad about that, and I met some great people through it. And the only reason I met them is because I was willing to give it a chance. If I sat there and was just this event sucks, I don't care about school, I don't care about anything, then I would have missed out on such a great opportunity. And the funny thing is, I can track this even back to high school, because in my physics class, had I not just decided to speak to the dude next to me who I didn't know, I probably would have missed out on one of my best friends right now, right? Because just by chance, one of my friends was late, so this random dude is going to sit next to me.
Yeah.
Little did I know we were going to become great friends.
Mm-hmm.
And all because I decided to keep an open mind and just think that maybe life isn't so one-dimensional. And something that you said, you talked about being a jack of all trades, right?
Yeah.
Do you know the William Shakespeare quote?
I think so, but you can say it.
So the quote goes, a jack of all trades is a master to none. right? That's a quote. But apparently that's not the whole quote.
What?
Apparently that's not the whole quote. I didn't know this, and I saw this.
Wait, hold on. I don't
right?
know this.
This was crazy to me when I saw this. So the full quote is actually, "A jack of all trades is a master to none, but oftentimes better than a master to one."
Damn! Wait, what?
Right?
I did not know that.
That was like mind-blowing to me. And that also shows that the media, not like, this is not conspiracy theory me, this is like just genuine me, but you never get the full story in the media. I think that there's a lot more to the things that you see that you don't see.
Yeah.
You know, I think that there's more than meets the eye, and you really need to research into things, because I saw that and I was like, dude, every time I thought about that quote, I was like, oh, maybe trying to learn a lot of things isn't good, and maybe I should be more specialized. But now that I've seen the full quote, I'm like, oh my God, that is unbelievable, right? So don't be entirely one-dimensional in your approach. Understand that there are multiple avenues to the same place.
Yeah.
So keep an open mind. And that doesn't mean throw it away. That doesn't mean, okay, I've planned out my life, I'm going to just chuck it out the window because some dude on a podcast told me to. It's like, no. Instead, reflect on the decisions that you've made, right? Did you really choose every single path because you thought it was the best thing for you? Or was it because somebody else told you that was the best thing for you? Did you really evaluate the situations in your life and say, hey, should I really do this? Mm-hmm. Or is it because somebody else did? And that's my number one thing, is to figure it out for yourself. Take some time and understand it and keep an open mind.
Okay, that's fair. I can agree with that. That's interesting because for me as a fourth year, I think that what I'm going to say might conflict slightly with what you have to say, but I'll take aspects of it as well. For me, I'd say if you're going into university, one of the most important things is be very serious about figuring it out. You have time to figure it out. So don't sit here and stress out and think, oh my God, I have to figure it out right now, because that's not true. But I will say the longer you wait to figure it out, the more avenues close. Let's say you enter your first year. If you decide that you want to change your degree, you can in your first year very easily because you're taking prerequisite courses anyways. But let's say you get second or third year, now it's a bit more difficult. I would say still pursue what you're passionate about. If you know that whatever field you're in right now is terrible and you're miserable every day, and you found something that actually makes you happy, go for it. 1,000%. It doesn't make any sense to take 2 extra years of school to go do something you enjoy for the rest of your life, rather than saving those 2 years and being miserable for the rest of your life. Okay, think about it in the long term, absolutely. But I will say, the earlier you can start to think, who do I want to be, the more likely it is that you can achieve that. So be fluid and capable of switching up when you need to, but at the same time, also have a structure and start figuring out who you want to be. Because I've told the story enough times about myself, but for those of you that don't know me enough, or this is one of the first episodes you're tuning into, I may be in my 4th year, but my preparation for for graduate school, for example, is not fantastic. And to be honest, it's mainly because I didn't plan out my degree the way I wanted to. I didn't say, okay, I need to take this many courses. When should I take them? And to be honest, planning it out is not as stressful as I made it out to be. I just procrastinated because I thought if I start working on it, it locks me into this thing that I might not enjoy. But at the end of the day, if you just put 100% effort in, plan it the best you can, and then if you hate it after doing it, it's fine. You can change it. But I will say now, don't sit here and say, just because I don't know what I want to do, I'm not going to put any structure to my schooling, because that will be absolutely lethal, and then you'll end up having to take more time to learn anyways. So definitely incorporate some structure into your life.
I would have said, right, I think that both of our points actually agree with each other, because the truth is, by exploring new opportunities, like, that's what I think I'm advocating for. It's not necessarily like, don't sit there and do nothing.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing you can do. To sit there and just look at your classes and be like, I'm just going to take the bare minimum. I'm going to take like 3 classes a semester that are super easy because it's just enough to get by. That's not the way to do it.
Yeah.
Because that way you actually don't have direction. You don't have any sense of where you want to go. You're not joining clubs, or you're not trying anything outside of your comfort zone. If you're just being the same, then it's not progress. That's not progress. Staying the same isn't progress. But you need to test yourself. You need to genuinely give yourself the opportunity to try something new. Whether it be dedicating yourself to a degree or dedicating yourself to a club or dedicating yourself to genuine improvement. When was the last time that you think you did that, right? Is genuinely dedicating yourself. That's an important factor. You need to be able to understand what is it that I truly love. For me, recently I found after, joining this club, I'm like, damn, I really like doing case competitions. This is a very fun thing that I enjoy. Now I'm thinking maybe I should do that outside of my spare time too. So I found this new love just by being open-minded. Same thing that happened with table tennis for me, right? Was that I just kept an open mind, and guess what? I found one of my new favorite sports. So to sit here and do nothing is to not make any progress, right? So between both of our ideas, you guys should be able to, extrapolate a theory that you need to come up with a structure. You need to have a purpose. You need to have an end goal. That's step number one. But understand that there are multiple ways to get to that end goal. Mm-hmm. But if you don't have an end goal, like let's say your end goal is here and you're starting here, you might go this way, you might go this way, you might go this way. But if you don't even know where your end goal is, you might end up going way over here. And it's a lot harder to get from here to here than it is to just go straight, right? So understand that it's very important to get yourself right with a purpose.
Yeah.
And purpose isn't a career. It's not a job. It's not one of those. That's not what a purpose is, right? Purpose is who do you want to be? What do you truly value? Because once you start breaking that down, the options for careers start to open up. That's why I think that schools kind of brainwashed us with those surveys. Because they had those surveys that were like, oh, you're compatible with this job, you're compatible with that job. But did you ever do those? What? That's unbelievable. We had to do those all the time. And honestly, one of my least favorite things, because every year it's like those results would change. Or I would begin to pick things just for the sake of getting one job. Like I remember I used to purposely rig it, like take answer questions so that it would give me electrical engineer as my top job. Because that's at first what I wanted to be. But then I started reflecting on it. I was like, is that actually what I'm trying to do? Like, is that really what I want to be? And now I've, like, genuinely, if you guys knew me growing up, I wanted to be an engineer for basically my whole life until grade 11.
This guy literally made a whole science fair project on, I don't know if you guys know, I mean, I'm assuming you know who Mark Rober is. He made, like, a hot tub with liquid sand in it.
Oh, yeah, the fluidized sand bed.
Yeah.
Me and my friend did that for our 7th grade science fair project. That was great. 6th grade. Grade 7, I made a model of a lightning tower is what I called it. It was a tower that could harness the energy of lightning. Like, it would get struck by lightning, and I had, like, a whole circuit and everything for it to, like, get the energy. I think it was very hypothetical, I guess.
Obviously.
But again, it's a science fair project.
And you're 12 years old. That's a pretty good idea
and
for a 12-year-old.
I was very proud of that. And I remember, because it actually sparked, the reason that idea sparked, I know we're going on a bit of a side tangent here, but the reason that idea sparked is I remember we were driving back from, I don't know where we were. We went on some kind of road trip, and we were driving back, and this was like peak forest fires time. So there was a ton of forest fires going, and then we were talking to my dad, like, oh, why do forest fires happen? He's like, oh, sometimes lightning strikes. And then I was like, lightning? What could we do with lightning? What if we just use the lightning? And that's where the idea sparked. And then I built that whole thing. And, I was very engineering minded, but eventually I came to realize that I wasn't, right? That I had pushed myself into that box because my father was an engineer. So you're having a very big realization right now.
You weren't engineering minded. You were entrepreneurial minded the whole time.
Yeah, literally.
Think about that. That whole innovative idea, that's literally entrepreneurship at work. You just thought it was electrical engineering because that's the medium that it expressed itself.
Exactly, because what's funny is that project, I asked for a ton of help from my dad from because I don't know anything about electrical engineering. I was 12 years old. I didn't understand anything about currents or magnetic fields or any of that stuff. I didn't know anything. So when I came to my dad, I was like, hey, I want to build this science fair project. He's like, okay. And he took me through the steps. He taught me everything, and he showed me how it worked. Like, I couldn't tell you right now how it worked because genuinely...
That's why he's the GOAT.
Yes. Like, it was very impressive. My dad came up with everything on the spot, and he taught it to me, and I, wrote it down. I put it on my science fair project. It was a beautiful project. The only reason I didn't win was because I went overtime, actually. Like, my teacher told me, he was like, oh, it was a wonderful presentation, but you went overtime, so
That is tragic.
Yeah, it was very sad. But the idea was that at first, I thought that it was all electrical engineering, and then I realized all I really did was supply that idea, right? I had the idea, and I wanted to build it. I saw the vision. Like, I could come up with what I wanted the tower to look like and everything, but my dad's the one who really helped me implement it.
I get it now. I understand it now.
He understands it now.
I understand it now. Oh my God, that makes so much sense because it's literally you being the business owner and hiring people who are really good at what they do to build it for you.
I literally just hired an engineer, and that was my dad.
Oh my God,
but
that's
at
crazy.
the time, I thought that I was an engineer. But
that's so crazy.
now I reflect on it, and I'm like, damn, that's really not what life was like. It's just that at some points we lock ourselves into these ideas because it's just confirmation bias, right? You believe one thing, so you're like, I want to, make it support that. Yeah. So I was, at a young age especially, I was thinking like, I am logically minded. I will think about things through numbers and all these things. Like, I'm engineering, I'm a math guy. But like, as my time has spent throughout school, I realized that some of the courses I enjoyed the most were like English. Like my last year in English, I loved English 12.
That's
I did
crazy.
phenomenal in the class, and I genuinely enjoyed writing my essays and stuff like that. But I always thought of myself as a math person, and I'm still, I'd say, pretty good at math and sciences. But I realized that there's more to my character than just that. So by unlocking myself and being like, hey, I can be more than just a kid who wants to be an engineer, or a kid that's good at math, or a kid that, enjoys science, I could find new avenues. Right? I never would have gone to business school if it wasn't for that idea, the idea that I could be different. Mm-hmm. So open your mind when you go to university, because that's the eye-opening place. There are so many different types of people that I am willing to bet you that if you try and make friends, you will. Like I have never met somebody who was mean on campus or didn't want to be friends with me after I had a conversation with them.
And even if you did, it doesn't matter. There's like 50,000 other people
Exactly.
to talk to.
I was selling Krispy Kreme donuts for my club the other day. I can't count on my hands and toes how many times I went to people and was like, I know you want a Krispy Kreme donut, showing them a box. And then they'll be like, no, man, I'll just leave me alone. And I was like, okay, my bad. Like sometimes people just don't want to hear it, but that's nothing to do with you, right? Sometimes people have their own times. But I still met a lot of people that were really nice about it, or even bought a whole box just because I approached them.
Yeah, exactly.
So sometimes you just got to keep an open mind and just keep on going at it. Don't be discouraged by the little things.
Yo, real talk on the Krispy Kreme subject, okay? I gotta tell you guys this, okay? When your homies are doing something, whatever they're pursuing, you gotta support them the best you can. You gotta uplift them, man. Let me tell you, this guy was sitting there selling Krispy Kreme donuts at this table, and I'm with 3 of my friends, and I walk up to the table to say goodbye. He's like, you should buy a donut. And I was thinking to myself, I wouldn't normally buy a donut. I don't need the donut, but I feel like it would be good to support him. But not only did I buy a donut, I psychologically made him look so much better because I made him upsell me to buy a dozen. You know why? Because I sat there, I was like, you're sitting there in a group of 3. How can I buy donuts to support your club while also making you look like an absolute goat at negotiation? So I was like, all right, let me just sit here and play a bit hard to get. So I was like, all right, I'll buy 1 donut. And then you were like, but you could get 6 donuts for $15.
You mean 12?
Yeah, 12. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
12 donuts for $15. And then I was like, that's a bit too much, blah, blah, blah. And then you were like, oh, but you can split it with your 2 friends. And I was like, okay, he understands it now. He's about to upsell us like crazy. And then I saw the 2 people other than you sitting at your table looking at you. I was like, they clearly see that he's cooking right now.
They see the vision now.
They see the vision.
Yeah.
So after that, we ended up buying the box and just walking out. And the funniest thing is we were probably going to buy a box anyways.
Yeah.
But the way that you choose to support your friends is so important, man.
Exactly. And like also just support them, bro. Like if my friends are doing a fundraiser, you know that I'm about to make them look like the greatest salesman of all time. Mm-hmm. Like, I tried. One of our buddies came up and I tried to sell him on it, but he wasn't having it, and I got mad at him. Because, he was there with a friend from a different university, and his friend from the other university bought donuts, and he didn't.
That's outlandish.
Outlandish. How are you going to let somebody from another university buy more donuts from your university? That's crazy. That's unbelievable, right? But support your buddies. Like, genuinely, that's, a really nice feeling. When, your friends pull up, and you're like, hey, man, and they're like, genuinely, I just want to uplift you. That's a good friend right there. And I'm not saying, you don't have to give your friends, your money. That's not what I mean. I mean, you buying the donuts had nothing to do with the money. Yeah. It's cool for the club. The club cares about the money. But me, it's nice to know that, my friends support me through my, my actions, right? What I need from them, they're there for me. So it's always good to show people that you support them. It's not just about the money or about the donuts, but it's about showing them that you're somebody who's reliable and that they can care about.
Plus, Krispy Kreme is so good. If I didn't have beef with them, they'd be one of my favorite donuts.
Oh yeah, they've literally
Krispy Kreme You guys suck. Okay, let me tell you guys the story. All right, I don't think I've ever brought this up on the podcast, but it was a very, very late night. Okay, let's say, well, not that late. It was about 8 p.m. Okay, and in BC in the wintertime, it gets dark so fast. Okay, so fast, and we're getting ready to go and buy donuts because we saw an ad on Instagram where it was like, buy 1 dozen donuts from Krispy Kreme and get the second one for 99 cents. And I was like, yo, that's a steal. I'm going to buy those right now. So me and Eric, we hop in the car. We drive all the way to Delta, which is like 30 minutes away for us. And with traffic, it was about 40, okay? 40 minutes we drove to go buy these donuts. And then on top of that, this Krispy Kreme has a drive-thru, and the lineup is so long. So we figured, all right, let's park the car, go inside, buy the donuts, and walk out. Everything's about to be chilling. Wrong. I get out of the car. I take 3 steps towards the door. I see the line extend out the door. I'm like, all right, we're not doing that. Hop back in the car, drive into the drive-thru. Line is also super long for the drive-thru. Make no mistake. But I thought, okay, there's about 5 or 6 cars before the ordering thing. I think I'd probably get in there faster than walking into the store. So I go in through the drive-thru. We make it all the way to the car before the ordering, and there's like an opening in the drive-thru so that if you decide you want to leave, you can leave. I pass the opening because I want to order donuts. So I go, roll up to the thing, and I say, hi, can I get your guys' special where you buy 1 dozen donuts and get the second one for 99 cents? She was like, oh, sorry, that one is only in the States. I drove 40 minutes, bro, and I waited in line for this long. But, like, I'm not a person who gets mad like that. So I was like, all right, it's whatever. I'll just buy the donuts for a regular price and leave. Okay, we already came this far. So I was like, okay, can I just get a dozen donuts then? She was like, yeah, sure. What kind? Oh, just a regular one. I mean, I'm assuming that's the one you guys have the most of. We're actually sold out of the regular ones. How? Krispy Kreme is open 24 hours a day. They're open 24/7.
I'm 100% she scammed you.
1,000%. My question is, how are you open 24/7 and you don't have the main thing that people want to buy from you?
Like, honestly, I didn't even know that Krispy Kreme made other donuts.
See?
And then I saw all the ones, and I still bought a box of original.
Okay, the other ones are cool. Like, there's other flavors and stuff, and I think that what they do is really awesome. Okay, their donuts are great. 99% of the time when someone says Krispy Kreme, you're thinking of the original because the original is the best. Okay?
It is.
Without a doubt, the original is the best. So when I went there to buy the original, you're telling me that you're open for 24 hours a day and you didn't have the original. Cap. I don't believe that. That's why Krispy Kreme, you'll never see this, but I got beef with you guys, okay?
I think they're like...
No peace for Krispy Kreme.
That echoes across the Krispy Kreme headquarters. They're probably tragic.
Yeah, CEO, whatever your name is, CEO at Krispy Kreme, I'm calling you Mr. Nope, that sounds so sus.
Yeah.
Mr.
Crispy.
Mr. Crispy. I got beef with you, pal.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, well, the last thing I will ask you, because, like, we were on the topic of university, and then we just answered one question. So another question I'll ask you is, what is one thing about university that was very different compared to what you thought it would be?
I feel like the number one thing is just the people. Like, I thought, again, it's a degree thing. You know, in my degree, in my faculty, people are extremely social.
Yeah, everyone is looking for a reason to network because it's business.
Yeah, so like that's just the thing is everybody's looking for conversation in business. But even then, I still was under the like big assumption, and also where you're going to school is important because like our school has 2 campuses. So one of the campuses seems very dead and nobody really wants to talk, but at the other campus, it's a very different story. Yeah. So, I would say that when I went to university, I was very on the I'm gonna just do my own thing. I don't need other people. Like, it's funny because one of my justifications for going into business school, because I understood that, like, the classes weren't going to be all too much. Like, there are a lot of things that I could just learn online, which actually, like, YouTube has been my savior for my classes. Like, when I don't understand a principle, I go on YouTube, I watch, like, a 5-minute video on it. It breaks it down perfectly. So, I would say also, like, education, if you're struggling in school, just look for it elsewhere. Like, the internet is so vast. It probably has far better teaching materials than you could ever imagine. So, like, genuinely just search for it. And also, like, for example, you know you can find, like, Harvard lectures on YouTube? Like, there's an entire Harvard computing course on YouTube.
That is kind of cool. I did not know that.
Yeah. Or, like, you can even just walk into Harvard lectures. That was cool when I learned that.
You can just walk into any lecture.
You can walk into any lecture. So, like, genuinely, this education is kind of free. If you really think about it.
Now, this is unethical. We do not advise you to do this.
Don't scam. I mean, if you really think about it, a school's not paying you. Like, you don't get paid to go there and actually do the classes. You're paying for your degree.
Well, the only difference is, like, if you go there and there's not a seat for you because there's people who aren't in the class sitting in the chair.
That is true. That is
a problem.
Like, right? I would say if you can see more than like 10 seats that are open, then you can sit down in the class.
Yeah.
But don't go into like a full lecture hall. I've seen in my classes, I've never had a full lecture hall, but I've seen my friends' classes where people are genuinely standing like at the doors because there's no seats.
That's kind of crazy.
That is crazy to me. Like, first off, that shouldn't happen, which means that there's definitely people who aren't in the class
sitting
down.
There you go.
But again, like unethical behavior aside, you should search for education in many different ways. But yeah, one thing that I think really was different than I thought it would be is the people. A lot of people are willing to talk in university, and even people that aren't in my faculty. Like, I've met people in my friend's faculty, and they're genuinely like just really nice people. Yeah. Or even I've just happened to meet people in different faculties, and they all just want to have a conversation, right? So a lot of people are genuinely nice. You just have to give them a chance.
I would say for me, the biggest thing is going into university. One thing I thought that would be different is I agree with the people point. And on that topic, my biggest thing is I thought that people would be more closed off in the first year because they're nervous and worried about the new environments that they're in. But I realized that nervousness is exactly why people are more susceptible to talking, because they don't have university friends yet. Like, yeah, you might have some of your high school friends that you go to university with, but for the most part, people are there on a brand new slate, looking for new friends, looking for new opportunities. So in your first year, I recommend you go out there and make friends a lot. Go out there and talk to literally everybody. Make a ton of friends. Because let me tell you guys are privileged beyond what you could know. Because for me, when I went to university, my first year was all online because of COVID. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't go to school. I couldn't make any friends. The best I could do was have fun with the people who are in my chat room on Zoom. I remember waking up early in the morning for my kinesiology lectures, and people would be typing funny messages in the chat saying like, "Good morning, my glorious King Jim." Because our professor's name was Jim. He was so funny. I love Jim. Shout out to my goat, Jim. But like, people would just say super funny stuff, and like that was the only way I could talk to them. But now you get to go to school properly how you should and make connections with all these people. Man, take advantage of that. Go out there and just talk to everyone, bro. Like, you would assume that not everyone wants to talk to you, and that might be true. There's obviously going to be an apple every once in a while that doesn't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
But that compared to the, hundreds of people you could talk to, it's infinitesimally small.
Exactly. You just need to like expand the surface on which you can get. Like, people can. I think that there is a luck to it, right? There's a luck of like, oh, are you going to talk to the right person? But if you just expand the scope on which your luck can land, then you're going to get lucky more times, right? So that sounds like I'm advising you guys to gamble, like very heavily.
Hell no.
Absolutely not. I just want to put that out there. But it's interesting because you're going to get bad hits sometimes. That's just how life goes. But if you just expand that surface, you just keep talking to people and don't make assumptions. That's number one, actually. That's one of the biggest things that I learned in university is don't make assumptions. Yeah. Don't assume that people are going to be a certain way, so you're not going to talk to them. Because when you do that, you're robbing yourself of the opportunity to make a great friend, right? And people want to say like, oh, I would never socialize with that kind of a person, so there's no point in me doing it. But it's like, maybe you should give them a chance, right? People are more than just what they look like or what you think that they are. So I think that a lot of the times when people make those decisions and they say, oh, I don't want to talk to this person, I wouldn't get along with this person, if you genuinely gave them a chance and you treated them like they were worth giving a chance, then you would understand that they are humans, right? So like, I would say, especially when it comes to forgiveness, this is something that I've really learned through like forgiving is a lot of the times we see somebody do something wrong and then we immediately discard them. We throw them to the curb and we say like, I don't want to associate myself with a person who does bad. But the truth is you don't really know much about that person, right? And if you really looked into their situation, maybe you realize that you might not have acted so differently. Like, we all love to put ourselves on a high horse and say that we never would have done what they did, but you have no idea what they did and why they did it, right? Mm-hmm. You don't know what kind of a situation they're in. And it's actually, there's a quote that says that behind every man who forgives is a man who knows the weight of his own sin. And understand that other people aren't perfect either. You're not perfect, right? So don't judge people. Don't be closed-minded. And be open to the idea that everybody can be a friend. Everybody can be a friend if you truly give them a chance.
That's true. That's very true. Last thing to wrap it up. If you could say one thing to every single university student out there, starter or fourth year, fifth year, sixth year, what would you say to them?
give it a chance. Believe in it and give it a chance. Genuinely put your 100% best effort into it. Don't, slack off. Don't skip your classes. Don't waste your time. Take it seriously because there are so many opportunities waiting for you at the end of the road. Just because some guru on the internet said that university is a scam and you should never go to it, that doesn't mean that that's what you should do. Take it seriously, and I'm willing to bet you're going to find a lot of doors opening in your life.
Man, that's so crazy because I thought you were going to say something different because that's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say, do not take it easy because that's exactly what I did in my first couple of years. I'll say the first year was fine because my courses were easy enough where I could get away with it, but I would have much rather preferred to have that cushion of all A pluses in my first year. So if I mess up later on, my GPA is not cooked because I have that little cushion to fall back on. But then in my second year, it went south really quickly because I didn't have good study habits. I didn't take university as serious as I wish I did. So in that situation, I would tell literally everybody out there, you don't have anything to lose by trying your hardest. You don't have anything to lose by actually putting in the hours that it takes to do good at this. Yeah, you could use those hours on something else for sure, but you're already here. You're already in this program. You're already doing something. Why not give it a good shot and see where it leads? At the end of the day, that's what I would say. Just go out there, have an open mind, and try hard, man. Don't put half an effort in. That's rule number one. Just give it 100%, and you'll be just fine.
Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the very end of episode 52. That's actually officially 1 year's worth of weekly episodes. So if you want to watch an episode a week, you got a year's worth of content now. Thank you guys so much. But before you go, you got to stick around for a little bit longer because it's time for Quote
of
the
Week.
Herm.
Quote of the week, ladies and gentlemen. The harder you are on yourself, the easier life is on you. And that's exactly why I was ending this episode by saying you got to try hard. Because the more you work on something, even if it's kind of inadvertent, like you might work hard at university and the rest of your life might be falling apart. But through that hard work, you may find a lesson, you may find a connection, you may find some tiny little thing to turn your life around, and everything else will drastically change. And you'll feel like, I got lucky. Why is life becoming easy now? It's because, my friend, you were harder on yourself. So just go out there, try your best, and things will work out just fine.
Thank you guys so much once again for sticking around to the very end of episode 52, 1 year's worth of weekly episodes. It's a cool milestone, I'm very happy about that. Thank you guys so much for the overwhelming support once again. And make sure that you go out there and you keep an open mind, that you try new things and you give it 100% wherever you can, and make sure you live a positive life, y'all. Peace out.